For the past few decades, climate science has proven to be one of the most controversial and polarizing topics amongst the general public. Politicians, economists, lawmakers, and even the Pope seem to have a say in what most scientists throughout various disciplines agree isn't much of a controversy at all. So what does this change? Where is the conflict? And what does it mean for us students with a large part of the future in front of us?
So what does climate change mean to you?
To me, climate change is an issue that's been definitely helped by human actions, and it's like the long-term change in weather conditions in an area, and I feel like it's definitely something that we need to work on as a society.
So what does climate change mean to you?
Climate change to me means that people's environments and homes are being affected, and it's affecting how they're able to live there.
So what does climate change mean to you?
To me, it means obviously the way the climate's changing, but how that impacts people, from people living on the coastline to all of us that are living in the same ecosystem, and whether that's coming from man-made changes and effects, or drawn out over time from other factors.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Let's take a minute or two to boil down what this climate change business really is. First, when we are speaking of climate, we are referencing a 30-year average of weather conditions for a given area. For example, the climate of South Bend cannot be felt on any given day or be summed up by this cold spring weather, but is merely a description of the mean weather conditions for a given period of time, or what we call the climate norm. Weather is daily, climate occurs over time. Climate is influenced through a variety of factors on a global scale. We have the circulation of the atmosphere, which, without going into too much depth or complexity, is a function of the spin of the earth as well as the physical factors of land and ocean, which control the direction of the winds, the locations, and prominent trends in precipitation globally. Additionally, the circulation of the oceans on a global scale, the global conveyor belt, describes the movement of water and nutrients through the world's oceans, which in turn have effect on the conditions of various locations across the globe. Together, these circulations and other factors, such as atmospheric composition and surface temperatures, enable scientists to paint a very good picture of what the global climate looks like today. The climate of today, however, is not the climate of the past. Throughout all of time, the climate has been undergoing change due to the natural cycles and fluctuations of the globe. Primarily, we look to the changes in the orientation of the Earth to the Sun in regards to the Earth's orbit, tilt, and wobble of spin, otherwise known as the Milankovitch cycles. This is the major influencer in what conditions on Earth are like through time. Additionally, the location of the Earth's land masses and oceans play a major role, as they are the largest determining factors in the path of ocean and atmospheric circulation. These changes are occurring on timescales of 20,000 to 100,000 plus years. So for us, whose lifespans are mere blinks of an eye compared to this time, the rate of change can be hard to wrap our brains around. Therefore, scientists use models built on the instrumental records we have collected over the past century and natural evidence of climate that has been preserved in Earth structures, namely the ice record, sediment record, fossil record, and many more, in combination to describe the past and predict the future of our planet's climate conditions. So where does the controversy come into play? In recent times, scientists have seen concerning trends of unnatural rates of change in the climate, which they have attributed to the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, meaning it traps in solar energy reflected off the Earth's surface and acting as an insulator. Without greenhouse gases, conditions on Earth would be too hostile for most life, but with too much, we would bake, given the high heat. Given we cannot describe the recent rates of CO2 concentration in the atmosphere with our knowledge of natural processes in determining the climate, the time frame is frankly too short. It is widely thought that human industrialization is to blame, and herein lies the issue. Industrialization has allowed for Western societies to flourish with high standards of living and comfort, attributing such positives in society to consequences with global implications, namely sea level rise, melting of massive amounts of ice, and severe changes in temperature and precipitation, will surely be met with opposition for those whose livelihood is guaranteed by the interests of this industry. Additionally, for those who benefit from industry's success, namely all of us, it It is hard to know how such seemingly simple and straightforward science can have such a profound and often conflicting impact on our daily lives.
One of the reasons climate change is often contested is because you cannot necessarily feel the effects in your day-to-day life. Whether you believe in climate change or not, it is imperative to live as sustainably as possible, for our dependence on carbon fuels is finite. Reducing your carbon footprint can lower the overall anthropogenic attribution of CO2 into the atmosphere and slow down the rate of global temperature increase. As college students, our carbon footprints are lower than an average person in the United States, simply because our main mode of transportation is walking. There are, however, many additional ways in which we can reduce carbon emissions. Washing clothes on cool instead of warm and air drying the clothes minimizes energy use. Carpooling, riding bikes, and taking public transportation helps consolidate fossil fuel use. Unplugging electronics that are not being utilized, turning off lights when leaving the room, and adjusting the heat during the daytime are all ways to lessen unhealthy consumptive energy practices. Making these little adjustments every day can help prevent drastic lifestyle changes in the future.
Clearly, this issue has many facets, which make it a complex and far-reaching topic. Despite this, it is important to know where your information is coming from and how it might be affected by bias or an agenda. Regardless of the debated and sometimes unknown degree of severity that recent climate change will have on our globe and societies, it is important to remember that no one is immune and we all have some share in the responsibility of the cause, but equally can be integral in finding a significant solution.